Howdy mates, top of the afternoon to ya. Today marks Sunday, March 9th, 2025. I have once again made another return to Rocky Mountain National Park. As you can still see, there is indeed still snow. Go figure. But I'm kind of like in a different section of the park this time. A little less crowded. We're basically following along, as you can see down here in the meadow. That's known as the Fall River. And this meadow forms a bit of that floodplain in this area. So you figure once more of the snowmelt progresses over the next couple of months, that river is going to be very strong. Let's put it that way. But something about this particular perspective that I like about being here is you're getting to see three separate ecosystems that primarily make up the Rocky Mountains as a whole. So like down by the meadow, for instance, you're looking at more of the montane ecosystem, which is mostly, it's like a French term for mountain, more or less. And usually that is where you'll find the most variety of flora and fauna, just because it lies below 9,000 feet in elevation. But then you go just above that, kind of like gearing towards where I am, maybe just a little higher. That gets more into the sub-alpine. And of course, alpine, the clue is in the name. That type of ecosystem or biome, whatever you want to call it, is filled with a number of separate pines. Whether it's Douglas fir, which is directly to my left here. You can kind of see the cones there. Along with Engelmann spruce and lodgepole pine, as well as ponderosa pine. So typically, that's where you'll see moderate levels of snow. And typically that's where the precipitation has the highest percentage. I would know, because just a little bit ago, barefoot now, I was walking through a trail that was mostly snow. And it got my feet quite soaking. But of course, once you go above 11,000 feet, that's where you get more into the alpine. So the soil up there is a lot more thin and bare. And you could say that the weather up there is a lot more hostile, just because the higher in elevation, the more wind you're going to be exposed. Yeah, you can actually see that distinct line right there. So mostly at alpine, you're going to stumble upon rocks for the most part, and maybe a plant here and there. But otherwise, yeah, it's very bare. And so a lot of the fauna that does reside here, they'll usually move a bit lower in elevation during this time of the year. But sometimes in alpine, you can see a type of bird that's called a ptarmigan. But the only reason that it's able to adapt to being up there is it has enough feathers and insulation to survive. And they also have fat storage too. That also acts a bit like a insulator. But yeah, that particular peak that you're looking at, that's Long's Peak. That's the tallest known mountain in the national park. It's over 14,000 feet in elevation. And a couple of the advocates that really pushed for the establishment of this park included individuals such as Enos Mills, who was a well-known interpreter and educator. But then there are also some women that were influential too. For example, Mary King Sherman. She resided in the Estes Park area back in the early 1900s. She was also a bit of an educator too. She knew her stuff. But even before the 1900s, going back into the 19th century, there's also another woman who went by the name of Isabella Bird. And she actually wrote a book about her life based in the Rocky Mountains. And based off of her writings in her book, it actually drew a picture about what it was like to reside in this landscape, and that we should remain harmonious with it rather than trying to develop or get what resources we can from here, extracting exploitation. And now it just makes me wonder between what's happening now with the new administration about how these parks are going to continue being regarded. And that's when I've said before, we have to maintain our integrity and make sure that we contact those who are higher up to help ensure them that we do still indeed care about these natural areas. So even for the visitors, continue coming. Of course, be gradual about it, though. Don't be overzealous. So, all right, you guys, have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and of course, Journey on a Journey is onwards. Take care, folks. See ya.